Hi everyone. Today we will see some of the important question which is asked in the AZ-305 Microsoft Azure certification. I can say Solution Architecture Expert certification. So let's start. I have some a couple of questions. So just I want to share the same thing which will be useful for the exam perspective. Okay. So I have this first question. Let's start. The question is asking about you have an Azure subscription, you have 100 Azure virtual machine, you need to quickly identify underutilized virtual machine that can have their service type changed to a less expensive offering. Which blade should you use? So over there we have a matrices, customer insight, monitor, advisor. We are selecting the advisor option because advisor help you to optimize and reduce your overall Azure spend by identifying ideal and underutilized resources. You can get the cost recommendation from the cost tab on the advisor dashboard. So that's why the advisor will be a right option. Next question, have like you have an Azure Active Directory, tenant name contoso.com. The tenant contain the user shown in the following table. Group 1, Group 2 in the member of name user 1, user 2. The tenant contain the computers that run Windows 10. The computer are configured as shown in the following table. Computer 1 Group A, Computer 2 Group A, Computer 3 Group B. So you enable enterprise state roaming in contoso.com from Group 1 and Group A. For each of the following, the given question you can say we have. If a user modify the desktop background of computer 1, user will see the changes background when signing into computer 3. Yes. If user 2 modify the desktop background of computer 1, user will see the changes background when signing into the computer 2. No. If user modify the desktop background of computer 3, user 1 will see the changes background when signing into computer 2. Yes, the reason behind this what we are giving the yes or no option I can give you, because in the ESR can be enabled only for the user if device account are in a group for which you enable ESR, device account are ignored. If user will modify the desktop background for computer 1, user will have the modified background when he sign into the computer 2. ESR is enabled for group 1. So when user is member of desktop background is one of the setting that is roaming by the ESR. So ESR is enabled for the user 1. The modified desktop background will be visible on the Windows 10 computer on which user 1 sign in. That means that the modified desktop will be used also when user 1 sign in into the computer 3. Similarly, for the user to modify the desktop verification background on the computer 1, user will not have the modified background when he is signed into the computer 2. ESR is not enabled for user 2. This means that if a user to perform a customization of the computer, those customization will not roam and will not be used when user to sign into a different computer. Okay, so this is the ARM template I have. And this is the attribute we are containing. Schema content version, it is the 1.0 version. Then parameter is a blank. Resource we are having API version 2016. Type Microsoft storage account. Then name concat copy index storage unique string name. Then location and SKU is a premium LRS. And the kind is storage property, copy name, storage count. We have a 3 mode is a serial and batch size 1. So this is the ARM template configuration is we have, and from this we have some question which is have to we give the proper answer over there. During the deployment of template 1, that ARM template, you can specify the resource group to which to deploy the resources. Yeah, we can specify the group 1. Because of that, the advantage of, I can say, the main advantage of the ARM, I can say, we are giving the resource location region where we are deploying those resources. So that is we can give on that option. The number of resource to deploy, the name of the resource to deploy, no. The resource group, I can say, which to deploy the resources we can give over there. Then last one, we have a permission for the resource that will be deployed, no, that will be not answer. Then template 1 deploy, there is an option, a single storage account in one resource group, 3 storage account in one resource group, 3 resource group that has one storage account, no, that is not an option. 3 resource group that each has 3 storage account, that is a very cost, I can say. 3 resource group, then 3 again storage account, this is a not good option, so this will be a discarded. And coming to the first point, if single storage account in one resource group, no, that is also not option. But yeah, 3 storage account we can create in the one resource group, that is a that we can do, and that is like cost effective also. Sorry. For the reference purpose, this document also we have, so just you can check here. Next question, your company hosts multiple websites by using the Azure virtual machine skill set that run internet information server. All network communication must be secure by using end-to-end socket layer encryption. User session must be routed to the same server by using the cookie-based session affinity. The image shown in the despite the network traffic flow for the website to the VMSs. So we have a IP address. This first one is like www.spintoy.com. Second, www.wingtipstoy.com. So using the drop down menu to select the answer choice if the answer is in question is correct or not. Which Azure solution should you create to route the web application traffic to the VMSs? We have a multiple option, like 4 options. So for which is the best suited for that requirement? We have Azure VPN gateway, Azure application gateway, Azure express route, Azure network watcher. Application gateway is the best option. The reason why this is, I will explain that one also. Second question, we can see, what should you configure to make sure web traffic arrive at the appropriate server in the VMSs? It is like asking only we have to be dedicated location, or I can say a route which we only waiting for that traffic services. So that can be we can provide in the VMSs. Yeah, we can. So for that purpose, we have the routing rule and backend listener. So the reason I can say we have explanation here. Azure application gateway is like URL path based redirection using Azure Power. So that's why we can give this option. And second, like for this routing rule and backend listener, because it is only asking for this web traffic arrive at the appropriate server in the VMSs. So just like appropriate thing we have to be set up over there, like path based redirection to the redirect certain content of the particular site, example like images, video for this, for that website, not between the host name. Second question should be like routing rules and backend listener. So for that purpose also we have a documentation. If you want to go with the detailed explanation with the lots of content, you can refer this document. Next question, we have Azure subscription that contains two virtual network named VNet1 and VNet2. Virtual machine connect to the virtual network. The virtual network have the address space and the subnet for configure as shown in the following table. Virtual network 1, IP address, subnet and peering. So IP address, like first one is given 10.1.1.16, then next one is 10.2.26, and subnet is 24.26, and giving the VNet2 and VNet1 peering. So this is the configuration level we have, and you need to add the address space of 10.33.0.0 upon 16 to VNet1. Okay, here we have to be at this 33. The solution must ensure that the host on the VNet1 and VNet2 can communicate. Okay, so what we are addressing here, that should be like communication between those two things. those two peering, I can say. Which three actions should you perform in sequence to answer more the appropriate action in the form of the list of the action. So here we have a list of options, and for those requirement which is asked in the question, what we have to be choose to get those solution or to get those point. And from the action we have like multiple option, and for reaching out that solution we have to be select from that option, I can say. First, remove peering between the vnet 1 and vnet 2. Then we have to be add the 10.33.0.016 address space like that as IP addresses into the space to vnet 1. Then recreate peering between the vnet 1 and vnet 2. The reason I can say the removing peering between the vnet 1 and vnet 2, you can't add address range to or delete address range from a virtual network to address space once a virtual network is paired with the another virtual network. So to add or remove address range, delete the peering, add or remove the address range, then recreating the peering. Okay, so the step 2, I can say, add this IP address 10.33 or 44 16 address space to vnet 1, then recreating the peering between this vnet 1 and vnet 2. Already I given the reference, so you can go with that reference also in the official website. Next question we have, Azure App Services app. You need to implement tracking for this app. The tracking information must include the following: usage trend, AJAX call response, page load speed by browser, server and browser exception. What should you do? And there is an option given like configure IS log into Azure Log Analytics. Second, configure a connection monitor in Azure Network Watcher. Third, configure custom log in Azure Log Analytics. Fourth one, enable the Azure Application Insight extension. So last one is the best right answer, because for the web page application inside JavaScript SDK automatically collect the AJAX call as a dependency. So some of the thing you can track or collect are like what are the most popular web pages in your application, at what time of day, and where is the traffic coming from. Dependency rates or response times and failure rate to find out if there is external services that is causing the performance issue on your app. Maybe a user is using a portal to get through your application, and there are response time issue going through this, therefore the instances exception for the both server and browser information, as well as the page view and the load performance from the end user side. Again, we have a next question regarding this resource group and vnet 1 peering. And name and type you already see in already listed in the table. So question is like vnet 1 in range vnet 1 sorry in RG1, vnet 2 in RG2. There is no connectivity between the vnet 1 and vnet 2. Okay, so add admin name admin 1. Create an Azure virtual machine named VM1 in RG1. VM1 uses a disk named disk1 and connect to vnet 1. Admin1 then install the custom application in VM1. You need to move the custom application to vnet 2. The solution must minimize the admin effort. Which two actions should you perform to answer select appropriate? Okay, we have to be move that vnet 1 to vnet 2 and have to reduce the action or like steps from the admin perspective. What should we do? First action, there is an option given like create network interface or detach a network interface, delete VM or move a network interface to RG2. Second action given like attach a network interface, create a network interface in RG2 or create a new virtual machine and move VM1 to RG2. So in the first action I can say delete the VM1 because there are no connectivity already they are given. Second action we have to set the create new virtual machine. So that is the main reason, that's why we are creating, because we cannot just move virtual machine between the networks. What we need to do is identify the disk using by the VM, delete that VM itself while retaining the disk, and recreate the VM in the target virtual network and then attach to the original disk to it. Next question we have like Azure Container Registry. Name registry 1. You have an Azure virtual machine name server 1 that run Windows Server 2019. From server 1 you create a container image name image 1 and then tag image 1. You need to add the image 1 to registry. Which command should you run on the server? To answer, select the appropriate option in the answer area. Docker, AZ-copy, robocopy, insert utl, push command, then which are the option we are selecting from that path. So docker push and registry1.azure.cr.io option should be a right option, because it is a similar way to the like Docker helps store public Docker images. You can use the Docker commandlet interfaces for login, push, pull and other operation on your container registry. Next question, we are developing Azure web app and you ensure TLS mutual authentication for the web app. You need to validate the client certificate in the web app. To answer, select the appropriate option in the answer area. Each correct selection is worth 1 point. Client certification allocation and encoding type. It is a very easy, like normal person, like any developer, if they are familiar with the deployment side, so they can also know what is the client certification question when we are using the deployment via the IIS or any other one. So client certification location is the HTTP request header and encoding type is a base 64. It is a like developer perspective question. So if you are a developer coding, you are doing the coding daily to daily day, so you are aware about that. Next question, designing a solution to secure a company Azure resource. The environment hosts 10 teams. Each team manages a project and has a project manager, a virtual machine VM operator, developer and contractor. Project manager must be able to manage everything except the access and authentication for the user. VM operation must be contractor, must be able to manage the storage account. You need to recommend the roles for the each member. What should you recommend to answer the drag and appropriate role is the correct answer employee type. Each role may be used once, more than once, and not at all. So we have to be drag and drop from the given option. Roles, we have a owner, contributor, reader, virtual machine contributor, storage account contributor. So we have a like this type of roles and which employee should be preference going with that role or roles, I can say. Project manager, contributor, VM operator, virtual machine contributor, developer, storage account contributor, contractor, storage account contributor, because they are asking the same requirement in the question, so that's why we are appropriating option selecting over there. You have an Azure virtual machine name VM1 and Azure Active Directory tenant name adatom.com. VM1 has the following setting: IP address 10.10.10.0.10, system assigned manage identity on. You need to create a script that will run from the VM1 to retrieve the authentication token of VM1. So which address should you use in the script? Option is given vm1.adatom.com on microsoft.com. Second option 169.254, 169.254. Third is a 10.10.0.10 and last one vm1.adatom.com. So second option will be a right answer. The reason I can say, VM can request a token from the Azure instance metadata service identity endpoints accessible only from the within the VM, like HTTP 169.254, 169.254 metadata identity or to token reference purpose. Next question, your company has a virtualization environment that contains the virtualization host shown in the following table: name, hypervisor, guest, server 1, server 2, then VMware and Hyper-V, VM1, VM2, VM3 and VMA, VMB, VMC. The virtual machine are configured as shown in the following table: name already given, generation given, Memory is also given for that particular virtual machine, then operating system which is using on that virtual machine, operating disk size, then data disk size. All the virtual machine are use basic disk. VM1 is protected by using the bit locker driven encryption bit locker. You plan to migrate sorry, question is down. Okay, so you need to identify which virtual machine can be migrated. So each correct selection option is given. So what should we select from here? Yeah, so the virtual machine that can be migrated from server 1 only VM3 only, and the virtual machine that can be migrated from server to VMA and VMB only option. Because you can see the reason VM1 cannot be migrated as it is a BitLocker enable. VM2 cannot be migrated as the OS disk in VM2 is larger than 2 TB. VMC cannot be migrated as the data disk on VMC is larger than 4 TB. That's why we are selecting that option. You are designing an Azure solution. The solution must meet the requirement. Distribute traffic to different pools of dedicated virtual machine based on the rules. Provide SSL offloading capability. You need to recommend a solution to distribute the network traffic. Which technology should you recommend? Azure Application Gateway, Azure Load Balancer, Azure Traffic Manager, server level firewall rules. We have to be go with the first option, Azure Application Gateway. The reason behind that, like if you are require SSL offloading, application layer treatment, or wish to delegate certificate management to Azure, you should use the Azure level layer 7 load balancer, because application gateway instead of the load balancer. Incorrect answer is D, because the load balancer is agnostic to the TCP payload and TLS offload. SSL is not provided. For the reference, you can see the already link is given here. Next question. This is a series of question like continue. We are getting question from this requirement, and the problem is you manage to Active Directory domain name contoso local. Install Azure AD Connect and connect to Azure Active Directory tenant name contoso.com without syncing any account. You need to ensure that only user who have UPN suffix to contoso.com and in the contoso.local domain sync to Azure AD. Solution: you use Azure AD Connect to customize the syncing option. Does this meet the goal? No. It is a very good question. For the detailed information, you can go with this link. Again, the same requirement. The question solution given for this one is, I can say you use synchronization rule editor to create a synchronization rule. Does this meet the goal? Yes, because in the previously we selected and also that's the reason. Yes, selecting yes, no, that is not reason, but yeah, I can see the example like not example, I can reason. Filtering what object are syncing to Azure, it is a common request, and there are many instances where filtering by OLI just doesn't cut it. In one option to its filter user by their UPN suffix so that only user with the public application and the UPN suffix are syncing to Azure. Example like bhagyashree.abc.com and would be syncing with this uh, any john.internal.sme.com would not. Filtering can be configuring using either the GUI or PowerShell. Through GUI, we can say using the syncing rules editor, open the syncing rule editor on the server where Azure AD connected is installed. You go with this option, synchronization rule editor, and click on that add new rule button on the view and manage the syncing rule window. So Find out the appropriate field in the description tab and click next. On the scoping filter tab, click add group, then add clause and user principal name, attribute filter and click next. So attribute use principal name, operation end with value your internal UPN suffix prefix with address, what is the domain you have. User with use the UPN suffix will not be syncing with the Office 365. You can see the image is already we have, so how it is seems. Okay, so that's for the today question. Hope you got the some insightful information from this series, from this question list or question bank, I can say question dump. And if you have any query, if you know anything, or let me comment it down, or let you comment it down. I will try to answer